Johnathan James Willette was born on November 7th, 1976 in Japan to parents James and Yoko Willette. He was nicknamed John and OJ. His father was a member of the U.S. Air Force and served at the Yokota Air Base. James and Yoko had one more child named Kenneth. The family first moved to Montana, then back to Japan before eventually settling in California. James retired from the Air Force in 1995 and the family settled in Henderson, Nevada. Yoko and James eventually divorced in 2012. When he was young, Johnathan played Little League Baseball on base in Japan. He continued playing when he moved to the U.S. and joined a traveling team that took him up and down the West Coast. As a grown man, Johnathan got into the sales and marketing industries. He started out selling timeshares on the Las Vegas Strip and built a reputation for himself. He founded two companies of his own, JW Marketing and the Vegas Moving Guy.
Been on this project for like 11, 12 days, man. But we flipped this house, our new
Johnathan had one son named DeVere. While Johnathan was said to be charismatic and sociable, DeVere also described his father as hot-headed and having no filter. After Johnathan split with DeVere's mother, he had two daughters with his girlfriend Devin. Devin was known by three names: Tracy Nicole Tavares, Nikki Fairchild, but more commonly today, Devin Jade Michaels. She was an adult film actress in the 2000s to the early 2010s, after which she moved into real estate. Devin and Johnathan were together from 2012 to 2018. Before she met Johnathan, Devin was married to Robert Baker, a fellow adult film actor and a convicted sex offender. Robert was married to his former stepdaughter, the same girl who had been his victim and later his wife. He was charged with inappropriate behavior with a 15-year-old, jailed and ordered to register himself. When he was released, his victim entered the adult film industry at age 18 and ended up appearing with Robert in various adult films until she retired. The pair divorced and Robert eventually found his way to Devin. We don't know much about their relationship. They possibly met through the adult industry or through mutual connections. They did not have children together, and neither has spoken about the other one publicly, but Robert's real claim to infamy has nothing to do with his films or his registry status. It's about an affair he had with a married woman and how he killed her husband.
Fabio Simmons Helly was a celebrity hairstylist and was married to a woman named Monica. The couple had 3 children. Robert and Monica had an affair after they met in an LA Fitness where Robert was employed at the time. Robert had put off registering himself as an offender, but that wasn't much of a deal breaker for Monica. They planned to murder Fabio so Monica could collect his life insurance policy and start a new life with Robert. Robert reached out to a friend named Christopher Austin, a parole and probation officer, to help kill Fabio and make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Robert and Christopher disguised themselves in hoodies. They broke into Fabio's home, stabbed him, and stole his Porsche and DVR. Fabio's daughter came home only to find her father dead and bloodied in his chair. Monica tried to deny her part, and Robert initially tried to protect her as well, but he eventually pled no contest, and his testimony was used in the case against her. While Fabio was murdered in 2017, Robert, Monica, and Christopher weren't tried and sentenced for a few years. Robert entered a no-contest plea in 2023 and was sentenced to life without parole. Monica was convicted in April of 2025 and sentenced to life without parole 2 months later. For his cooperation, Christopher was sentenced to life but with parole after 15 years.
Devin and Johnathan were long split by the time of the events of today's story, but they maintained contact when it came to their daughters. Johnathan dated another woman, eventually proposing to her and announcing a pregnancy. When someone called for the Vegas moving guy, Jonathan's fiancée was often by his side, helping where she could. Jonathan's son was also part of his father's company. For them, the superstitions about mixing family and business were true. They had multiple disagreements over the Vegas moving guy. The tension eventually led to DeVere moving out of his father and grandmother's house and into Devin's house located at 5510 Porcupine Rim Street. He quit his father's company and got a new job as a home security and entertainment system technician. But Devin wasn't doing this out of some sense of family duty. The two of them were not living as roommates or friends. She and DeVere had an affair behind Johnathan's back starting when DeVere was 19 years old. Devin and DeVere married in 2021. They both claimed their marriage was one of convenience. Devin had medical issues, and marrying DeVere made it easier for him to assist her as her spouse. It was the final nail in the coffin for Johnathan and DeVere's relationship. According to DeVere, he and Johnathan went mostly no contact after he married Devin, his former de facto stepmother. Angry, Johnathan texted DeVere in all caps, "WTF, I thought you were my seed. If what I know, I can't with you." And even after this blowout, nothing changed. There were no birthday calls, no New Year's texts, no apologies, nothing. The last text Johnathan sent to DeVere was a simple "hey" with no response back. DeVere would later testify in court about his relationship with his father and Devin, who is referred to as Nikki in the testimony.
Did there come a point in time when you're living with him at Paladura and working that you guys have some disagreements about work and other stuff?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider your dad to have been a hard-headed person?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was he an opinionated guy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever tell your dad that you had been having a sexual relationship with the father of his other children?
The mother?
The mother. Jesus, I said father. Yeah.
No, sir.
I apologize. Knowing your dad as you did, if he had known you were having a sexual relationship with his mother of his children, is he the type of guy that would have just said nothing and let it go?
Yes, sir.
Did there come a point in time when the family court became involved in the custody of the children?
Yes, sir.
Did Nikki lose custody of the children?
Yes, sir.
Was this before or after you married, if you remember?
After.
So after you married Nikki is when the custody thing happened?
Yes, sir.
Prior to that, were the girls living with you and Nikki at Porcupine Rim for however long you were living there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you're having this relationship with Nikki, is it a tumultuous relationship?
The definition's over.
Okay. Is there a lot of kind of arguing and back and forth, or you describe it for me?
There was arguing back and forth.
Were there times in which you yourself were trying to get out of this relationship?
Yes, sir.
Describe that. How many times? What's going on in your head at this time?
That when I tried to fill some shoes that I had no business filling.
Whose shoes?
My father's.
Okay.
Just get a little bit closer.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So I believe you said that you were trying to fill some shoes that you had no business filling. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
As a result of that, did you start to get a little uncomfortable and attempt to leave a couple of times?
Yes, sir.
Devin and Johnathan met up often in family courts over the custody of their daughters. They had joint custody for the time, but Johnathan was actively trying to become his daughter's sole guardian. In the meantime, Johnathan moved back in with his mother, Yoko. His daughters came with him, staying with their grandmother from about November of 2022 to May of 2023. They had bedrooms on the second floor while Johnathan slept on the ground floor. On the outside, it appeared the animosity suddenly stopped. Devin and Johnathan supposedly agreed to share a home so that their daughters could stay in one place. Though Devin later said she was doing a favor for Johnathan, she alleged that Johnathan and his fiancée were going through a rough patch. Devin also claimed she didn't think Johnathan was actually going to move in with her. The topic came up a few times, but they didn't make any plans together. She said that it wasn't until he brought his Vegas moving guide trailer to her home with their daughter's furniture and his belongings that she realized that he was serious.
Around this time, Devin sent DeVere a few emotionally charged messages that read, "Liar, cheater, liar, cheater, liar, cheater, I want a divorce." And, "Yep, stupid me for wanting a gentleman for a husband instead of a belching slob. I will just keep my distance." Based on context, we can only assume Devin had a problem with DeVere's drinking habits, spending habits, and general immaturity. Devin did not seem to think that a man 20 years her junior would act like someone 20 years her junior. In a conversation between the two of them, DeVere said, "The reason why we haven't had a divorce yet is because we actually love each other. But at the end of the day, I don't need you. I want you. I have adapted and overcame plenty of situations that I have put myself in. So it would hurt if it happened, but I would be fine. I don't need fancy things for status symbols if the bills are paid. And I have my little fixes here and there. That's a happy life to me because what you buy doesn't define who you are as a person. It just shows you make this paper that creates fake emotions of happiness. but I guess that works for some people. 3 hours later, Devin, the person who was 20 years older, responded to this reasonably mature text with an even more mature WTF are you? You obviously ain't home! Exclamation, 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 but you ain't cheating. DeVere saw his father on August 6, 2023, hauling furniture into Devin's house. At that time, they did not speak to each other.
Later that evening, Johnathan and Devin visited Yoko after getting their back-to-school shopping done and relocating their daughter's things to Devin's home. At around 1 in the morning on the 7th, Yoko found Devin in the kitchen washing dishes. Devin said that Johnathan had gotten drunk and went to sleep. Late at night, their daughters woke up and realized she hadn't returned home. They tried calling her at least 3 times and got sent to voicemail. The audio is hard to understand at times, but they ask her to please call back and that they're worried that she got into a car accident. That call was later played in court and we'll play a small clip for you now.
Mom, I've been waiting for you to come home, and I haven't seen you anywhere. So, if you could, please give me a call. I'm very worried about you. I'm very serious. I don't know if you got in a car accident or any church members. And I'm getting very worried. Please call me, please.
Around 3 a.m., Yoko heard her dogs barking, but she ignored the commotion. After sunrise, she found her dogs were locked outside of the house. Johnathan's truck was still parked in her driveway, and his desk chair had been knocked over. Yoko entered her son's home around 8:30 in the morning on August 7th, 2023. She found Johnathan in his makeshift bedroom. His head was no longer attached to his body and was missing. She called the police at 8:40. Officers found emptied bottles of ammonia and bleach next to the bed. The body was smoking, as they described it. Yoko later testified about what she saw in court via a Japanese interpreter.
その時倒れてた一応起こしたんですか？
はい。
Yes.
And then what did you do?
でジョンのベッドもしかして寝てるかと思って毛布でこう全部ラップされてたんです。それでこうちょっと開けたら足が見えたの。
I went to his bedroom, and he was wrapped by the blanket, and then but she could see that the part of the she just opened the blanket and then could see that the part of the feet.
The feet. Okay, what did you do next?
その後どうしました？
でベッドの方をちょっとこう頭の方に動こうとしたら動いたらたくさんの血を見たんですぐ部屋の方に行って911
She tried to move the other side of the bed, showing the head side, and then before that she saw many bloods.
Many blood?
Many bloods, and then so she went back upstairs and then called 911.
Okay.
Officers interviewed Devin in her home. She said she left Johnathan's house the night before. She told officers she had no idea he had died or how, or of anyone who would want to hurt him. Last time she saw him, she said he was smoking a cigarette in his garage. She added that he went clothes shopping a few days prior and was threatened by a stranger, but the store's surveillance footage didn't have anything like that on record. Devin and Johnathan's daughters approached officers with Johnathan's bloody and cracked cell phone. They had found it in the driveway next to Devin's SUV. They also got a search warrant to look inside the house and found more of his things in Devin's bedroom, like his wallet, keys, and his license. Devin owned at least 3 weapons, katanas, which were photographed but not taken into evidence. These were characterized later as prop weapons. The day after she found Johnathan's body, Yoko realized a meat cleaver she owned wasn't in its usual spot in her kitchen, and she alerted the investigators to this. As more evidence came in, Devin emerged as the sole suspect. It's worth remembering that polygraph tests are largely considered pseudoscience by psychological experts and work more as a tool for interrogation than a reliable indicator of guilt. She did agree to a polygraph test on the 15th. The results noted a significant reaction after a question about if she participated in any way in the death of Willette. Devin admitted after her polygraph test that she had Johnathan lie down on his stomach. While he lay face down, she struck him with a stick she described as something candlestick-like. On that particular night, she claimed he got aggressive after she refused to be intimate with him. She accused him of hurting her, their daughters, and his son DeVere. She said all she wanted was to hospitalize him so she could figure out what she could do with her children. The interrogators also asked if she could not recall the actual act of the murder. Devin agreed that it was very possible. Authorities said that Devin used a knife and a mechanical saw to remove Johnathan's head. She placed it in a laundry basket, drove it to her home, and threw it in the trash. They suspect that she left it in her outdoor bins for the garbage truck. Johnathan's head was never recovered, so the medical examiner could not determine an official cause of death. Investigators also never located the murder weapon or the tools used in the assault. After this interrogation, Devin was arrested and booked for open murder. In Nevada and some other states, open murder is a preliminary charge before prosecutors and a grand jury can determine the nature of the murder, whether it's first or second degree, or if it's voluntary or involuntary manslaughter.
Police spoke to Devin in at least 6 interviews spanning before and after her arrest. Detective Dennis Ozawa said that Devin used the term bye-bye when recounting how the garbage truck took Johnathan's head away. Devin's interrogation footage and audio was uploaded to muckrock.com and is publicly available, albeit with some redacted elements. These interviews were eventually shown in court. These clips we've selected are from the first 23 minutes of an interview conducted after Devin's arrest.
You want to start from on the 6th. You were hanging out with John and doing some shopping? Yes? Yes. Okay. Describe that day to me. You know, the Cliff Note version.
Simple day.
Okay.
Shopping, got girls' school supplies, clothes, groceries. That was it. It was a very easy, pleasant day for the most part.
Okay. And then at night, John was moving in with you?
John was moving the girls' stuff to my house. It wasn't until he had actually moved everything over until I realized he was moving some of his things over.
Okay.
John had been telling me he was going to move, but that happened once I go back and forth that he hadn't actually moved anything, so I didn't put any stuff into it. So when he moved some of his things over, that's when I realized he was actually moving his things. Yes, I remember talking to John about it. Yes, I remember talking to other people about it, but until that moment, it really wasn't something that was going to take place.
Okay.
Because at one point, a few times, he said he wasn't going to move. And it had happened more than one time, so I just took it as it was.
Early, you described something to our partner that he wanted some sort of encounter with you?
And that wasn't going to happen. I hit him. He was not dead.
Okay.
That's when Yoko came down. I spoke with her. And like I said, afterwards I left.
Okay. Have you recently had a full intimate relationship with him?
Recently?
Well, within the past month. Obviously, he's moving back in. You two are speaking. Have
He's
you?
asked me for favors, yes, but no, we have not had intercourse, no.
Okay. Well, and that's part of the reason we've been told otherwise by other people, that he was telling other people that you two that. That's why we're trying to clarify some of this up.
And we have not had intercourse.
He's asking for. You say no.
As usual.
Okay. And then from there, what happens?
I gave him a back massage, she popped his back.
It's obviously you're quite a bit smaller than he is. How did you pop his back?
He was laying on the ground and pushed again, and on the fourth one, he raised it up and was supposed to pop.
Okay, so you're straddling his lower back area or something like that, or standing up or something?
Standing up, yes.
Okay, and you're just pushing his back, even he's out. Okay, and where was that? In the bedroom or
On
the?
the floor of his room, yes.
I'm sorry,
On the floor of his room.
the floor of his room? Okay, and then from there, what happens?
He went to go smoke again, and came back in, and was laying on his bed, and he had me rubbing his back. That's when I was rubbing his back, and that's when Yoko was coming down the stairs.
He had physical custody. What was visitation like?
Based from CPS, I was supposed to see the girls for supervised visits for therapy sessions only, and he never enrolled them. I enrolled him, and that was it. And he said he didn't want to go to the courts anymore. We were going to be one happy family, and we were actually working towards it. We were not perfect, but we were getting along.
You kind of smirked a little bit while you were telling that story. What kind of brought that emotion out?
Because when it was all said and done, when he needed something, I was helping him. No matter how much he did something, I was helping him. And everything said, thank you for helping me, thank you for helping me. And it was like, I was literally trying my best to put back together my family.
Go back to your family or get your girls back?
My family, because my girls wanted everybody under one home. It was what they
Your girls,
Yes, sir.
not what you wanted. Understandable.
DeVere was told that his father was murdered at 1 in the afternoon on August 7th. It was his grandfather who had to break the news. Short time later, he spoke to Detective Ozawa. DeVere claimed that he had been drinking before he spoke with the police, but it's unclear if the detectives knew this going into the interview. Detective Ozawa asked about the nature of DeVere's relationship with Devin. Said they married out of convenience and not out of love, but investigators did as they always do. They looked into phone records and devices. They found very intimate and personal messages between Devin and DeVere going as far back as 2016. Johnathan's family has largely stayed out of view of the press. Only DeVere and Yoko have made public appearances, and that was in court offering testimony. The other exception is Johnathan's stepsister, Valerie Rivera. Valerie started a now-defunct GoFundMe to raise money for funeral expenses. She wrote, "I am Valerie Rivera, Johnathan's stepsister. Johnathan James Willette, OJ, passed away August 7th, 2023. Johnathan was loved by so many people. Johnathan had the personality and charisma that attracted everyone to him. Johnathan leaves behind 2 young, beautiful girls, his father JC, mother Yoko, and brother Ken, and stepmother Valerie. Rest in peace, Johnathan. We all love you." With the sudden and unexpected passing of Johnathan, his family would greatly appreciate anything that you can donate towards the many expenses that are ahead.
Devin was charged with CA in October of 2022. One of her daughters had a bruise on her leg, and a childcare worker made a report to the police. But it would take until August 9th, 2023 for her to receive her sentence. After Johnathan's murder and before her arrest, Devin was sentenced to 1 year of probation. Judge Mary Kay Holthus oversaw the hearing. Devin and her public defender argued that she was at low risk of reoffending.
I've done counseling classes, therapy, drug tests, psych evaluations. I've done everything, and everyone I've spoken to say I'm not an abusive person, and they don't feel there's any risk for me to abuse her or would ever do this again.
Given her circumstances, Devin was offered an unreasonably kind plea deal. She would only need to serve at least 15 years in exchange for a guilty plea. Devin accepted the deal at first, but revoked her plea at the last minute during her sentencing hearing in July of 2025. She sobbed her way through the withdrawal request. Johnathan Giordani, the deputy district attorney, pushed for the case to go to trial. Now, I'm warning you, this is quite unhinged and quite a doozy to watch.
Johnathan was very special, very unique, and I know no matter what I say at this moment, I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me. I know right now no one in the family feels that I am innocent at any point, and I understand that. But I can actually prove my innocence. I actually can. And I'm not going to stop fighting to prove my innocence. I have more than enough. And Johnathan deserves to have the actual person who's guilty behind bars. I was helping Johnathan. I can show that I was trying to help him. And this, I know, is hurting the family, and I can see it in your faces, and I know your hearts are angry, and they should be, and I'm angry for you. And this is not fair to you. This has been dragging out for almost 2 years, It's not fair to you. And it's not fair to his children. Any of them. And it's not right. It really isn't. It's not. I've seen so much that it's just terrible. The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and...
You pled guilty, man.
Miss Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to address me. You are.
You're
addressing Mr. Giordani. You are going to address me. What do you want me to say? What do you want to say to me?
My apologies. I wasn't trying to address the state directly. It's just, I was told. I was just told one thing after another, and I truly believed that we were going to do the right thing, and it just didn't happen. I am so sorry for all of this, but I am so sorry. But I didn't do this, and I didn't know this would end up like this. I really didn't. And I will forever apologize to the family. But I don't know how to fix any of this anymore. I don't. I keep listening to what everyone tells me is the best thing to do. Just do this and it'll work out this way, and follow this advice and we'll do this. And I keep listening to the people because they keep saying this is the best advice. It doesn't turn out the way they tell me it will. And it just gets worse and worse. And I don't know what to do anymore.
Judge, I'm not comfortable with this record. I'm willing to let her out of her plea if the court is inclined.
I don't know how to fix this.
All right.
It's just, this wouldn't be appropriate.
I completely understand.
Let's go to trial.
Mr. Giordani. All right. Ms. Michael, you understand Mr. Giordani says that he's willing to let you out of your plea and he's willing to try this case. And you understand that he's willing to try this case on an open murder. So a jury can convict you of a first-degree murder. Do you understand that? Or do you want to talk to Mr. Patrick about it?
I don't want to talk to Mr. Patrick. He didn't listen to anything I said.
Miss Michaels, I need you to understand what I'm saying to you and answer my question. Yes. Do you want to withdraw your plea and go to trial?
Yes, please.
All right. This plea is going to be withdrawn. Ms. Patrick, I need you to have some discussions with your client about...
Your Honor, I move to withdraw at this time. This case needs to go back to the appointed counsel.
Miss Michaels, hold on just one second. Miss Michaels, you need to conduct yourself like this is a courtroom. If you cannot do that, then they're going to remove you because I still have business to conduct.
Yes.
Do you understand? Mr. Patrick?
Judge, respectfully, I move to withdraw and have this case sent back to Office of Appointed Counsel. I am not in a position to accept appointment on this case should it go to trial at this time.
All right. All right, I'm going to have to reach out to the Office of Appointed Counsel and get her a lawyer that's going to be appointed with the understanding this case is 2 years old. This case is not going to sit stagnant and wait around for a trial. So I'm going to reach out to Ms. Bush myself and have a discussion with her in regards to the appointment of counsel because this is not going to be, this case has been delayed extensively and this case is not going to further be delayed so that there is no justice for everybody.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, if I may, that's one of the other reasons because with Barry Edwards, it would be late next year before I would even consider putting this on as a trial.
Well, I'll reach out to Ms. Bush.
Understood.
July 31st, 9 a.m.
And Your Honor, do you grant my motion to withdraw, please?
Yes, I'm going to grant your motion to withdraw.
Thank you.
The trial began in November of 2025. In his opening statement, Deputy District Attorney Giordani said, "Buckle up because you're in for a wild ride." Referencing a photo of Devin, DeVere, and the children, Giordani told the jury, "This is the future that she saw and that she wanted, and the only way to have that future was with John out of the picture." Prosecution argued Devin did not want Johnathan in her life more than he already was. Even though she had 2 children with him and agreed to let him move into her home, she didn't want anything to come between her and DeVere. Devin's defense attorney, Robert Draskevich, told the jury to look at the motivations and find her not guilty. He argued that DeVere had more of a motive to want Johnathan dead because it meant he would have to live in a home with a father he hated or leave his wife behind, saying, "What happened on August 7th, 2023 was DeVere was getting kicked out. He was no longer going to be in this relationship because Dad, the dad he hated, was coming in and not only taking his home, but taking his wife." DeVere, Attorney Draskevich said, had access to the tools and the physical strength required to commit such a brutal crime. But the prosecution pushed back on these statements, as DeVere was not placed at the crime scene based on phone records and surveillance footage. According to Deputy District Attorney Brittany Griffith, the mechanical saw was a one-size-fits-all kind of product. It was something anyone could use, whether you're muscular or more petite-framed. Detective Ozawa testified about his involvement in the investigation, including his searches and interviews with Devin. Attorney Draskevich asked why he and his fellow investigators didn't take the katanas in Devin's home into evidence. "We're dealing with a decapitation case, correct? Fair to say that samurai swords would kind of fall into that realm of importance when it comes to a decapitation case?" In response, Detective Ozawa said they were prop weapons, so the department didn't see a need to test them for blood or fingerprints. But he also said on the record they didn't find Jonathan's DNA in Devin's vehicle. DeVere and Yoko were among the witnesses. They were pressed hard on the stand by Attorney Draskevich.
And this is the second thing about your marriage. He asked you about your marriage, correct? And you say, "Yeah, we're married." Yes, sir. Correct? And you tell the police officer that we're certified, but it's not like we're really. Because she has a whole bunch of health problems, all that stuff. Remember that conversation you had with the detective?
Yes, sir.
So he asked you, so it's just like worked out for like insurance, you're saying? And you say, well, not like anything bad, but like for the girls, correct?
Yes, sir.
That wasn't true, was it? What you were telling the detective, after you're saying that you learned for the first time that your dad's been murdered, what you told him about your marriage wasn't true, was it?
I was also drinking my dad on marriage.
You've read through this transcript, you agree with me that you appear to be pretty coherent, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then the detective asks you, but do you guys sleep in the same room? And you say no, correct?
Yes, sir.
You guys actually did sleep in the same room. You slept in the same bed, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
But when he asked if you two slept in the same room, you said no, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then he asks you, are you guys intimate at all? And you say no, correct?
Yes, sir.
That wasn't true, was it?
Yes, sir.
Fair to say that you were downplaying your feelings for your wife when this detective came to ask you about the murder of your father?
Yes, sir, because I didn't know what actually happened to my father.
Please say it again.
Yes, sir, because I didn't actually know what happened to my father.
Okay. But you're lying to the police officer about your relationship with your wife, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, today you testified that you'd worked the day before, August 6th, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you were actually off the day before, correct? You didn't work on August 6th.
I was drinking when I don't remember.
But you would first tell the police officer, yeah, I worked yesterday, but then...
Sorry about that.
Is that better?
If you could just please repeat your answer. I'm not trying... If you could speak up, please, and just repeat that last answer.
I was drinking a lot and I don't remember.
But you actually made the same mistake and initially told him I was working yesterday, but then you corrected yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you really weren't drinking that much. Because you at first said, well, I worked yesterday, and then you said, oh, actually, you know what? It's my day off. Correct? Sundays are your days off.
That was 10 years ago, and I was drinking very heavily for my father's death. So I don't know.
Okay. But, sir, this conversation occurred August 7th, 2023. All right?
Sorry.
Or, I mean, you do... Fair to say, it hasn't been that long, has it?
Not 10 years.
Now, it must be noted, DeVere was never considered a suspect by the police. There was zero evidence placing him near the crime scene between August 6th and 7th. Well, Attorney Draskevich attempted to create reasonable doubt about Devin's guilt, which is his job as a defense attorney. His efforts were not enough. Now, Yoko said she couldn't remember everything clearly. She was just too upset to do so, understandably. And Attorney Draskevich targeted her the same way he had gone after DeVere.
So just so we're clear, this idea of 3 a.m. has been talked about on 2 prior occasions that we're aware of, correct? In your interview and during your grand jury testimony, correct?
一応3時に最初のインタビューとグラン大陪審の時に3時だということを言った。
言ったか覚えてない。
I don't remember.
Okay. And during the grand jury proceeding, when the prosecutor told you or asked you about 3 a.m., you didn't disagree, did you?
その時に検察側が3時に行ったという言ったはずですけども、覚えてるんです。
いや3時にって言われたことないと思う。
I never been told that 3 o'clock from the prosecutors.
But you'll agree with me on both instances when you talked about this noise in the middle of the night. It was the dogs barking and it was unusual. Fair?
とにかく犬が聞こえてるのはunusual. Yes, I agree.
Today you talked about when you came downstairs and it was at 1 o'clock. You said that you saw Nikki and she seemed surprised, correct?
その下に降りた時にニッキーがその非常に驚いたということを言われましたね。Yes.
You didn't talk about her looking surprised or startled on August 7th, 2023, did you?
8月7日にそれについて驚いたとかそういうこと言わなかった。
驚いたかあったとは言いましたけど、驚いたって言ったかどうかは分からない。
I don't remember what I said or not, but I told them that I met her.
Okay, yeah, you said that you spoke. The point I'm making is you didn't say she was startled or surprised, did you? When you were interviewed by the police.
驚いたということを言わなかったかもしれない。
かもしれない。覚えてない。
It might have been that way, though.
And when you testified before the grand jury on September 21st, 2023, you didn't talk about Nikki being startled or surprised either, did you?
その時もそのニッキーが驚いたように見えたというふうに言わなかったんじゃないですかと。
覚えてません。
I don't remember.
Devin was found guilty of first-degree murder with a deadly weapon after 2 weeks of trial. She was sentenced on January 8th, 2026 to 20 years to life for first-degree murder and 8 to 20 years for the use of a deadly weapon served consecutively. She was granted 2 years' worth of time served. She was incarcerated in the Florence McClure Women's Correctional Center in North Las Vegas. Johnathan's funeral services were private, held on September 16, 2023, as announced by his fiancée. They were placed in the care of Affordable Cremation and Burial Services located on Charleston Boulevard in Las Vegas. His obituary described him as someone who loved to talk to everyone, especially at his jobs. They refer to him as one of the most likable people on the Las Vegas Strip and someone who would help you out by giving you a job in hard times and also moving you or your possessions on a moment's notice. If Johnathan's case resonated with you, then please click here to check out the case of Herline Cardulai, a young woman who came to Las Vegas with big dreams, only to have them snuffed out by a washed-up reality TV star who worked as a self-described spiritual gigolo.